What's up, guys? We have a little bit more information coming out on this case. For one thing, I just found out today that her name, Justine's name is Rizuschik. That's how I think you pronounce her name. Anyway, she frequently used her fiance's name, which was either Damon or Diamond. I heard someone pronounce her name today, Damon, but I could swear when I was reading in the article, it was Diamond, but that's neither here nor there. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Either way, I'm sure some of you will be rather entertained by the fact that already in this case, we're seeing very unusual things go down. The police chief has stepped down already. The citizens are asking, as you're going to see in the videotape here that I'm about to play you. I normally don't play videos too long, but I'm going to let this one play a little while. And I really want you guys to check it out because it's really interesting. It's full of information. And what we have now, we have witnesses. There was actually witnesses in the alley. And we even have a guy, they haven't said what's on it yet, but we have a guy who says he has some video footage. So I'm thinking if he has video footage, it has to be pretty prevalent because why would he even mention it? And we also have witnesses who say that, well, maybe one witness, excuse me, sorry about that. We have one witness, at least, who says that they didn't hear a sound. You know, the police officer says that he heard a sound. And the way he was trying to describe it was Justine ran up to the car simultaneously as the sound happened, and then he panicked and he shot it. So, but, you know, look, we've been here before. You know, even in Castille's case, his murderous partner, who was on the scene, his testimony in court was in contrast to the shooter. You know, the shooter was claiming that it was a really threatening situation. His partner said no. Even in court, he said, I never felt threatened by Castille. I never saw him do anything or say anything that made me feel threatened. And there were also other officials on the scene, firefighters and other officials who gave testimony that was in contrast to Castille's shooter. And still, we all know what happened with him. He went home, got something about, he got fired from the job, but he walked away with about 50 grand. They cut him a $50,000 check, something like that. So, you know, look, we've seen this all before. We've had witnesses that told stories that was in contrast to what the police officers were saying. We had a witness that not only was an eyewitness, but he recorded an officer shooting a man in the back when the man was several feet away from him, running away. The officer first, before he realized the video was available or had even been recorded, because, you know, the guy took a while. He was a little bit afraid before he came forward. But the police officer was totally describing something different than what really happened. And then the video came out, and the guy's eyewitness testimony came out. You couldn't deny the guy because what he said he saw was on video. Still, you know, even though the officer lied, all he had to do was say he was afraid. So, look, we are not in new territory here. So, you know, just because all this is happening, you know, look, I still say that if this woman was black, I could just about tell you, as long as that officer keeps saying that he was afraid, and that's probably what he's going to keep saying, because that is the thing that has worked so well. Unfortunately for him, he's black and she's white. She's got a nice smile. She's blonde. And, you know, so far nobody has dug up any information about her smoking weed in college or anything like that. Because you know how they do it, right? So, yeah, we've been here before. This is nothing new. We got cops who have been caught numerous times. We've got 3 cops in court right now. Don't really know how that's going to work out for them. That video footage that Rahm Emanuel in Chicago hid is out now. Now, the shooter, he got by. That video wasn't out. But that's no excuse because there was public officials who was testifying to the fact because they had seen the video. And they was telling the jury that the police officer was telling a lie. And the jury still sent the man home. They still sent the man home. The man was shooting the guy while he was on the ground. You could see bullets. I think it's been a while since I saw the video, but about three or four more bullets went into the man. He was on the ground, laying perfectly still. So all of this is nothing new. Witnesses coming forward, recordings, the whole 9 yards. If the police officer continues to say he was afraid, many times they still get away. But I'm going to go ahead and play this video for you guys. I want you guys to check this out. And let me see. Let me get it kind of leveled out a little bit here. All right.
We begin today in Minneapolis, where fallout continues following the fatal police shooting of an unarmed Australian woman. Transcripts reveal 40-year-old resident Justine Damond called 911 twice to report a possible sexual assault outside her home a week ago, before she was shot dead by an officer responding to the emergency calls. The city's beleaguered police chief, Janie Hartsoe, resigned Friday at the request of the mayor amid growing calls by activists. This is Minneapolis Mayor Betsy Hodges.
As far as we have come, Chief Hartsoe is not in a position to lead us further. And from the many conversations I've had with people around our city, especially this week, I note that some in Minneapolis have lost confidence in police leadership. For us to continue to transform policing and community trust in policing, both the chief and I concluded we need new leadership at MPD. In conversation with the chief today, she and I agreed that she would step aside to make way for new leadership. And I asked Chief Hartsoe for her resignation. She tendered it, and I have accepted it.
According to the Minnesota Department of Public Safety, Officer Mohammed Noor was startled by a loud sound shortly before Rusek approached his police cruiser. Noor, who was seated in the passenger seat, shot her through the open driver's side window of the vehicle. Noor has apologized to the family of Justine Rusek, who often went by her fiancé's last name, Damond. Noor has declined to speak with investigators and has hired an attorney.
The killing came just weeks after a suburban Twin Cities police officer, Geronimo Yanez, was acquitted on manslaughter charges of shooting African-American motorist Philando Castile in 2016. During the mayor's announcement, anti-police violence activists stormed the news conference demanding Hodges also step down. They said her leadership as mayor of Minneapolis was ineffective and that the Minneapolis Police Department had terrorized them enough.
For your prompt resignation. We don't want you as our mayor of Minneapolis anymore. We ask that you take your staff with you. We don't want you to appoint anybody anymore. Your leadership has been very ineffective, and if you don't remove yourself, we're going to put somebody in place to remove you. We do not want you as the mayor of Minneapolis ever again. We would like you to move out of our city. Your police department has terrorized us enough.
The former chief wasn't doing her job, but we understand it's beyond the chief. That the problem is institutional, right? If it was not institutional, then those cameras would have been, those body cameras would have been on the police the other day.
Officer Noor and his partner have been placed on administrative leave while the shooting is investigated. Noor is the first Somali-American officer in his precinct. For more, we're joined by two guests. Samantha Priest-Stinson is an organizer with the Twin Cities movement to end police killing and police brutality. She's a Green Party candidate for City Council in Minneapolis. And Phil Stinson, no relation, is a criminologist and associate professor at Criminal Justice Program, Bowling Green State University in Ohio. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Samantha Priest-Stinson, can you start off by just explaining when this happened and what you understand took place? It is a very surprising story as this woman thinks she's hearing a rape outside. She calls the police, waits another couple of minutes. They don't come, calls again. When they come, it's like, 1:30 in the morning. She comes out in her pajamas to speak to the police, comes to the driver's side of the police cruiser, and she is immediately shot in the abdomen by Mohammed Noor, the police officer in the passenger seat, shooting across and in front of his police partner. This is apparently what has been said because they had video cam on them, each officer, but they didn't turn it on. Can you take it from there and what has been the response and why we don't know more?
Well, for one thing, we don't know more because there's no visual evidence, and as you stated, The officer has chosen not to speak and to execute his constitutional right not to. The BCA who's investigating it cannot force him to speak. And the officer who was in the driver's side, spoke very little about what he knew. But what we have within just the last couple of days, what we have come to know is that actually some residents have come forward that did see something. What they saw, we still don't know. And in addition to that, the report of the gentleman on the bicycle who was reported to have been in the alley at the time of the incident also has come forward. And we've also learned that a citizen did record some video. But those details, outside of that, other details have not developed yet at this point. And I do find it very interesting, the speed of the information that has come out, which we've never seen anything like this before in Minneapolis with previous cases, to include Philando Castile. And now, all of a sudden, now that there is video that has surfaced and witnesses that have stepped forward, we've stopped hearing anything. So it's very interesting and telling, and it has residents very heightened. And a historic movement has started here, boots on the ground in Minneapolis as a result, starting from the verdict of Philando Castile, moving forward to what we've seen with Justine Damond.
And Phil Stinson, what about this issue? I'm sorry. Well, Samantha, I wanted to ask you, in terms of the protests that have developed, there were some who were claiming initially that the Black Lives Matter movement would not get involved in this particular case, since it was the death of a white woman at the hands of a police officer, but that's been proven to be false. Could you talk about that as well?
Yes, that's correct. So Black Lives Matter's Twin Cities has been involved. And the reason why is this. The reason why the Black Lives Matter organization started to begin with was because we know that Black lives are not treated as if, we know that they matter, but they're not treated as if they are. And we have factual evidence to prove where that's been happening time and time again, where Black lives have been treated as secondary. But that's just the reason for why the group formed. Their overall reason for existing, as far as the work that they do, pertains to police injustice, as far as killings and brutality overall, regardless of the identity of the victims. So it made perfect sense for us who have worked with the group and are familiar here locally and familiar with the work that they did, that they would get involved and that they did show up. So that wasn't surprising to me. But the other thing is that we have had an issue with reporting locally, which does feed in nationally as well, because with this movement, there are rallies that happen before the actual marches occur. And at these rallies, we have local speakers. Some are faith-based, some are with organizations, some are candidates that come together to bring the community get together so that everybody can have a chance to speak and share their voice, and bring us together as a community and heal before we start these protests or these marches. So that's another piece that is...
Okay. So that's a pretty good video. And I want you to... What's going on here? Let me see. There we go. I was thinking for a minute. I forgot I wasn't on YouTube. But yeah, that's a pretty good article. You can see that they tell you everything about the witnesses, and they tell you that Black Lives Matter has been involved from the beginning. They're asking for the mayor to step down. And I also want to pass this article on to you guys. I don't give a fuck because a black woman or a Native woman in the identical situation Justine was in would garner support or sympathy from most white people. No. What most white people would do is look for reasons that might justify why the police officer had to kill the black woman. Most white people rely on this idea that black people in situations where white people are in pain are only ever to be soothing and understanding, only ever to be Mammy or Uncle Remus, only ever to extend condolences, only ever to embody loyalty, only ever to offer empathy and sympathy that most white people purposely, haltingly, I guess that's how you pronounce that, deny when situation is reversed. Almost as if white people still see us as their property. When the situation is reversed, When we require empathy and sympathy, then suddenly we are all of the opposite things that these once needy white people previously said we were. When the shoe is on the other foot, then they assess us as immoral, violent, criminal, subhuman, and unworthy. Well, he didn't say and, but unworthy. So, yeah, this is a great article, man. Now, I'm not in the same place this guy is in. I'm right. I'm kind of like right behind him. I'm to a point where I can definitely understand, and I see more black people in the future. If this shit doesn't straighten out soon, I see more black people starting to feel this way. Not that they don't necessarily care about the person, the individual, but they don't care about the situation. They don't care about hearing about some white woman who was gunned down by a police officer, you know, some innocent, unarmed woman. You know, we've had elderly people's homes invaded because it was the wrong house. The police thought it was a drug house. They go in and they end up killing them, you know, and you don't get any of this. And these people are old. I think there was a case in Atlanta where that happened. And I don't know if any of the cops ever went to prison. I know that the last time I checked on the case, they hadn't gone, and that it had been quite a while. But, you know, my point on that is that even if I were to research it and find out they did, I can honestly tell you it took them a long damn time to finally send them. But I know they were in the middle of investigating it, but that investigation was dragging out. If you as an individual go into somebody's home and invade a home and end up shooting an elderly lady, and see how quick you end up in prison. So this is a very good article. I'm definitely going to drop this down in the bottom here. And I want you guys to check this out, man. This guy really wrote a good piece here. And you know what's funny about it? If you go down into the comment section, you see white people down there, they're basically proving what he's saying, you know? You know, all this dude's got to do is go to the comment section and say, hey, look, I rest my case. You know? So, yeah, this is a very interesting case. I knew eventually something like this was going to happen. But I'll be honest with you, man. I socialize with a lot of so-called, quote-unquote, liberals, white liberals on social media. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm starting to find out something about white liberals. White liberals are nothing but racists themselves. And I'm not saying all of them are, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of white people running around this country who claim that they're liberal. And they are quite the racists themselves. They're that kind of racist that don't even know they're racist. You know, they just kind of think, you know, subconsciously that they're superior to you because that's just the way it is. You find them a lot of times speaking to you in a manner that sometimes you have to remind them that you're not a child, you know, and they kind of speak to you with this, oh, you poor thing, you just don't know any better, you know, one day you'll learn. You know, a lot of times what kills me is that they're younger than me, and they're talking to me like they're the ones with the wisdom. And I'm the one that need to stick around and, you know, keep learning so I can get on their level. And, you know, I'm starting to see now, man, that Malcolm X, if you guys ever get time, go back and look at some of the things that Malcolm X was saying about white liberals. And, you know, because you get these people who aren't liberals, they telling you straight up, they glad to see cops. You know, they glad to see a cop kill a black person. I've seen them on social media, especially on YouTube, going down in the comment section saying straight up, you niggas are going to learn. One day you're going to learn to obey orders. You're going to learn, you know, they throwing that N-word around like it's nothing. So they're showing no compassion. But you know exactly where they're coming from. Like I've said before, they're the enemy at the gate, man. You know exactly where they are, and that's a good thing. So, but it's that enemy, man, within that's you know, lurking around in the hallways, the same structure that you're lurking around in. The ones that you think are your friends, those are the ones you need to watch out for.